Hi Mom, hi Dad. I'm in the back of a huge utility van, but don't worry. I'm fine, okay? I promise, but I am busy. A certain point in a book, I will just lose it. I have too many books. Don't let my husband know, because to my husband, hi husband, I don't have enough books, right? Ever, okay? If you ever see my husband on the street, you tell him I need more books, okay? Hi friend, like the title says, I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm going to be reading some books, and basically the goal is I need to start every book, and if I'm not going to continue read it, I need to just DNF it right now, because I have a really bad habit of like, oh, I kind of don't want to read this right now, but it's still good, so I'm going to keep it on my shelf forever, and otherwise I'm just going to be reading a bunch of books this weekend. I'm going to be starting with this book. It's called Girl 15 Charming but Insane. I have 17 books in a plastic tote in my car, and this would technically be number 18. Okay, look, I get it. Kids / teenagers can be very cruel and very mean for silly reasons. I think as a society, we need to stop making fun of people's jobs. Like, they're making fun of this parent's job, and it's like, at least your parent has a job. Like, we need to stop making fun of jobs, especially if it's one that's, like, helpful to society. I just think that's the stupidest thing to make fun of someone for. What? They're making money? They have enough money to have food and a home and live? Ooh, so shameful. So shameful. Okay, so I'm for sure gonna read Girl 15 Charming but Insane. Like, it's hilarious, it's great. I'm gonna take this and put it back in the tote and start something else and just see. I'm going to start this book. I love this author, but let's see if it's worth reading. I'm just going to show you every book I brought. I've already shown this one so far. A Quietly Hostile, which is a bunch of essays by one of my favorite essay people. I've already shown you this. And then we also have Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Dial A for Aunties, Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and Other Lessons from the Crematoria. This author has a YouTube channel, which I love, love, love. Like, if you want to know anything about what happens to our bodies after we die, definitely check out this YouTube channel, because it's really great. I'm trying to remember. I think it is just her name, but I should double check. This one's called Easy Crafts for the Insane, a mostly funny memoir of mental illness and making things. Okay, you thought that was all. You would be mistaken. I brought Why We Work, which I actually have shown this book in another video, and what I remember is I read like a good chunk of it and then just stopped, which might be a reason that I might need to DNF it, but we'll see. This is a very popular self-help book that most people have heard of. I do enjoy her stories, and I enjoy when she's on podcasts and stuff, so I think I like it. I just had to stop reading it and then lost the book. See, that's the issue with me. I will have to stop reading something, and then instead of like just picking it up like a normal person, I end up losing it before I can like get back to it. And then once I find it again, I'm like, was that a sign that I shouldn't read it? Or is that a sign that I need to read it because now I found it, and so now it's the right time, and maybe it wasn't the right time before? This is a book my father got me that I really enjoyed. In fact, I'm going to be making... Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure you can see it. It's gonna... This is a book my father got me, and he got the rest of my immediate family, and I really, really enjoyed it, and so I'm going to be making a video on just this book, because I think everyone should read it, because it's like this really short each chapter is broken up into like a meditation basically, and they're just really short chapters. They're like 1 or 2 page or even half a page chapters. I just think that it's easy, but it has a lot of things in it that make it profound and interesting and like philosophical in a way where you want to like do more research or, you know, think about something for a while, right? And so there's a lot in like a very short amount of pages and words. And so I just think everyone should take a moment and read this, because it really does, like, you could read this in 20 minutes if you wanted to. I take longer to read it just because like I want to like absorb it or feel like I'm absorbing it, but it is a really easy read that actually has a lot of value. This was on my TBR. Actually, most of these were on my TBR shelf, but this is called The Science of Breakable Things. Draw Your Weapons. This is, again, I think another memoir. Let me just double check. How to live in the face of so much suffering. What difference can one person make in this beautiful, imperfect, and imperiled world? Draw Your Weapons is a reading experience like no other. Of course, because like I said, I love my essays. I already showed you a couple essay books, but here's another 2. These are 2 David Sedaris books that I actually haven't gotten to because I went a while without reading David Sedaris, because I more recently read his first book, and his first book is actually, I think, excessive in a way where it's just trying to get attention. Like, he's always been someone that can be a little bit much. He's always someone that has been slightly excessive, but I feel like it's never been excessive in a way that's just like it feels like natural. It feels like he's being himself. It feels like he's telling the truth for the most part, right? And it feels sincere to an extent. But his first book, it feels excessive to the point that he's just trying to get attention, or he's just trying to be salesy in a weird way. It's funny because it's like, you don't think when you're making art or you're making something creative that people can tell like the intention behind it, but a lot of the times you, as an audience member, you can tell the intention behind an artwork. I think you can tell when people are being real, and you can tell when people are being fake, or at least if you take a moment to like observe a little bit more, you can tell. And with his first book, it just felt like he was trying too hard to get the audience to like him or something. So I stopped reading David Sedaris entirely for a while, because I'm like, if this is where his first book was, and to be fair, I like a lot of his work, so I shouldn't judge him on his first book, right? But I'm like, wait, is the rest of his work this way? And I just didn't notice because like I just like David Sedaris as a human. And I don't think it is, because like I said, you can be excessive but sincere, or like have like, I don't know. I feel like his other work is more sincere. So I'm finally picking up this, and I'm finally picking up this, and for the love of all things holy, I really hope that I enjoy these, because I love David Sedaris. I'm just saying, if you really like someone, do not see their first work, because it unfortunately can have like it can ruin things. It really can. For the Wolf. Now this is slightly different because I started reading this last February, was really enjoying it, and like I said, lost it. Whenever I get close to a certain point in a book, I will just lose it. I have too many books. Don't let my husband know, because to my husband, hi husband, I don't have enough books, right? Ever, okay? If you ever see my husband on the street, you tell him I need more books, okay? Don't worry, he only watches like parts of my videos, so I could get away with saying that. This is a really interesting retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, and I think more people are comparing it to like Beauty and the Beast, but honestly, it is way more Little Red Riding Hood than Beauty and the Beast. And it's done very well. And I know there's a second book in the series, and maybe a third, but I saw the second one in a store recently, and I was like, oh, I need to get that. Which it reminded me that I had only gotten like a quarter of the way into this book, and then lost it. And then, again, once I lose a book, I'm like, eh. This is Fanged and Fabulous. It's one of these cheesy vampire books. And so far, I'm only like maybe like 3 chapters in, but so far, I really like this. Yes, it's technically a trashy book. Sometimes you need something a little trashy, although it's not inappropriate. It's trashy in the sense that it's like cheesy, but it so far it hasn't been like inappropriate. Now, a lot of vampire books have inappropriate scenes in them, regardless if you're writing for like an 8 to 10-year-old or you're writing for an adult. Like the House of Night books, it's technically for like teenagers. But I started reading those when I was like 8. Because technically the first couple of books are written in a way where an 8-year-old could read them. However, in the first book, there's like an inappropriate scene, which then gets brought up multiple times in the other books because it was a real learning moment for the main character. And the scene didn't even involve the main character, but like it was something they saw. It was an important scene to have. It's questionable if it was excessive or not, because it was kind of on the line of like, is this actually appropriate or is it not? Because it really did move the story forward and the next few stories forward, because it really impacted that character, how they viewed that type of interaction. And you get to see like how it actually affected like their minds, which is in a lot of content, I don't think that is actually really done well. Like a character seeing something that maybe they shouldn't have seen, it's usually not brought up again or talked about, or like you don't actually see how that character was affected by it, really. But in these books, you see how that character was affected by it. So I don't actually hate that that scene was in the book, but in other books in this series, I do think there are a few scenes, inappropriate scenes, that are excessive and maybe don't need to be there or could be less graphic, if that makes sense. But would I want an 8-year-old to read a book about where there's like an inappropriate scene that is so impactful that it impacts the main is it like impacting the main character for years to come? I don't know. I think, like I said, it's a good learning lesson, but would I want an 8-year-old to read about it? I don't know. I don't think so. And I don't know if I would want a 16-year-old who has probably heard about such things to read about it either. What I'm trying to get to is vampire content, regardless if it's written for an 8-year-old or an adult, usually has inappropriate content. So will I be surprised if that book later has like inappropriate content? Probably not. But so far it's actually been pretty clean. Like there's an implication of like, oh, these people are in a romantic relationship, so you know, they went off and maybe did something or maybe didn't. It was just like a character trying to make fun of this other character. But beyond that, they really haven't talked about inappropriate content on page. And even the like violence, because there is a scene where this girl is like being followed. Even the violence aspects so far have been like pretty clean. The last book that I have with me, actually that's not even true, there is one more book that's not in this pile. The second to last book I have with me is called Shop Class as Soulcraft. Oh, and a lot of people on YouTube I actually respect like this book, so I want to give this book a try. The last book that's not in this pile right next to me is called Liquid Rules, which is another book that I want to do like a separate video on. It's a nonfiction book about a guy who gets on an airplane. He's talking about different liquids and the properties they have, and interesting like history and facts about liquid, and like how important liquids are to our life, and we don't even always realize it because we don't always know that certain things are actually liquids. It's actually very interesting. However, part of me wants to DNF that book because while it is super interesting, it is kind of a lot to read, or you have to be in a very particular mood to be in a place where you can read it and actually absorb the information, if that makes sense. Anyway, I need to get back to reading if we're actually going to get any of this done. So unfortunately, I think we're gonna get rid of this book.